Hello, amazing teachers, and welcome to this Lesson Gems. I'm Jay Fullmer, and we're going to take a look at Doctrine and Covenants 46, Lesson 61. It begins with images of our welcoming signs on our church, a welcome to visitors. Now, there's a couple of resources that I think might be useful today to help your students with the discussion. The opening attention-getting exercise is good, and if you, how it says here, invite students to silently rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 5, they could record their answer in their journals. I recommend doing this and doing it in their journals, but you should really post these questions if you've got time in the lesson, or if you can have them ready on the board, and have the students write down the questions. Because honestly, the default for some students is going to be to simply write a number that if they ever looked back on it, they would say, why did I put these numbers here and what do they mean? So give the students a chance to write down the question and then thoughtfully put their answer. And that way they can reference back to it during the discussion in the lesson and reflect on their thoughts as to how welcome they feel, or that they feel their friends would feel at church. Now, after you read the verses in section 46, verses 1 through 6, there's a question. What do you learn from these verses? This is the truth they're hoping students will discover. The Lord has commanded us to welcome everyone to our church meetings. This section here, treat everyone as a child of God, you may find some use for that, and it would be really nice to connect your students to the applicability of the Strength of Youth manual. So I'm going to recommend that you take a look at that, which if you click on will pop up in this drawer here. That way, if you feel like it would help, you've got a good template of ideas about how important it is for us to not just whether we treat people of different ethnicities differently, but religions and any other group. So I think this will help us set the stage for something I'm going to propose in the next section. Remembering this, as a disciple of Jesus Christ, you can lead out in treating people of all races, religions, and any other groups with love, respect, and inclusion, especially those who are sometimes yada yada. So what happens? Okay, we've got this question here. Why do you think welcoming others is so important? That's a good question. Remember, follow-up questions will be great there too. If somebody says, because the Savior wants us to. Tell me more about that. And the tell me more about that is going to help students to be able to dig in a little bit deeper. But after you're done with this question and you get onto this question, what are some challenges in our day that might make it difficult for someone to feel welcome in church meetings? This might be a good place for a richer discussion. Now, the suggestion I'm going to offer is for you to use judiciously. You need to know your kids and whether this would be the right approach for it or not. It may be that this would be too, I don't know, maybe your students would be too excitable about this or what. Let me show you what I mean. What if you showed this slide? I was trying to come up with what are some images that might cause people, because when you're thinking of just the concept, I think often people imagine, well, of course I'm going to welcome everybody at church because everyone is nobody's going to do anything that jars me or that feels polarizing to me or anything like that. But the reality is those are the easy people to love and invite and include. But what if people are, and in this case, I'm just offering what they're wearing. What if somebody comes to church and is wearing something that makes a student feel polarized or frustrated? And I wondered if maybe those images might help to prompt a more nuanced discussion of the question. After looking at something like that, what are some challenges in our day that might make it difficult for someone to feel welcome in church meetings? Well, polarizing ideological discourse is certainly one of those things. What are some specific things we can do to help others feel more welcome? So those images I'll include in a PDF, and please, again, use them judiciously. Don't use them just to be sensational. If you feel like it would help the discussion, then I offer them. These questions might also help. What do you do to get along with someone who has differing beliefs and values to yours? Because we're going to find those people at church. What advice would you give to someone who has trouble getting along with someone at church? These questions might help with your discussion to get students thinking about how they might really apply these ideas. Initially, yes, I think everybody can get on board with the Lord has commanded us to welcome everyone to our church meetings. Okay. And it's not just allow people. Remember, it's not just to allow people at our church meetings. It's to welcome them. So how do we do that? How do we welcome, talk to, reach out to people that may reflect values or personality things that may be different than us? That's really the key. Remember what Christ taught in the Sermon on the Mount. It's easy to love people that love you. Even wicked people can do that. We're asked to go above and beyond. But make sure to time your discussion so that you do not miss this last section. This is what it's all about. What's the reason for all this? Because we're trying to be disciples of Jesus Christ. We're trying to be like him. Now, Christ was not just tolerant of everybody. Christ challenged people, sometimes speaking with great boldness. But what we're focusing on here in the lesson is the ways in which Christ invited and brought to him those that were maybe on the edges of society. So that's where our examples are here. Remember that this part is key to the lesson. If we click on the example here that it gives of Matthew 9 through 13, notice the kind of people that Jesus spent his time with. Publicans or tax collectors, sinners. The Pharisees, they couldn't understand it. Christ taught him what was needed. Those that are whole need not a physician. Remember that church is not a resort for the righteous. It is a hospital for sinners, and that's why we're there. The things that your students will discover about the example of Jesus Christ and how they can apply his teachings when interacting with other people will be a great blessing. Make sure that Christ's example is key to the focus of your lesson.